Hi, it's Astrid Spades, and I thought I'd review the free art program Medibang since I use it fairly regularly, and in my opinion, it's a pretty good overall art program. But it is free, so of course it doesn't have all the bells and whistles that a program that you might buy would have. So I thought I'd go over it in more detail. So first, the ease of use of this program. At first I gave it a 5 out of 5 since everything's very obvious how to use it. You click on something and it's essentially you see the settings for it right away, and it's really easy to see how to adjust things and get them the way you want them. But there's a few things that a program, Clip Studio Paint, that I use really regularly has that make it a lot easier that this doesn't have. So I gave it a 4 out of 5 for ease of use, since there's a couple things that I just really wish it had, like when I want to save an image as a PNG, but also keep the MDP file. With Clip Studio Paint, you can just go into File and click Save Duplicate, but with this, even though it's fairly easy to save duplicate, it just doesn't have that option, and I really like that option since I know I'm not accidentally saving over. I've never accidentally saved over one of my files, but it gives me a lot of peace of mind to have that save duplicate option. So first of all, the ease of use for this program, I'd give it either a 5 out of 5 or a 4.5 out of 5 since it's very obvious how to use it and very simple. And even if you don't understand how to use something, it's really easy to learn. And it tries to make a lot of things very user-friendly, so it doesn't have a really harsh learning curve. For the potential of this program, I'd give it a 4 out of 5, maybe even a 4.5 out of 5, because you can definitely make super great art in it. I've seen some people make really amazing stuff, but at the same time, it's just slightly limited by it doesn't have a ton of cool brushes, and sometimes I just feel like there's more I want. So a 4 out of 5 for potential. You can definitely make amazing stuff, but it's not quite as amazing in just the ease of making it as maybe Clip Studio Paint. And I've never used Photoshop, but I know you can make super cool stuff in there. For bells and whistles, I'd only give it a 3 out of 5. It does have a lot of cool blending filters, but not as many as Clip Studio Paint has. And sometimes I just really like the ones in Clip Studio Paint and wish they had more of those. And for brushes, I gave it a 3 out of 5. I do really like the default brushes, but it doesn't have a ton of variety. However, for the watercolor brush, I don't like it because it's just so flat and round, and sometimes not super easy to blend with, but you can make a custom watercolor brush out of kind of a really dense airbrush, and that'll make it a lot smoother. Or you can download their fluffy watercolor brush, which I love because it gives it a really organic feel, and it's a really nice brush. So when I'm blending or trying to do something with blending, I really like to use the fluffy watercolor brush. And the watercolor settings are really easy to use for blending, so that's another reason that they get points for ease of use. Overall, I'd give this program a 4 out of 5 because it's really great, but it's just missing some of the bells and whistles that other programs have, other paid programs. There is one thing I really like about it, and that's the snaps that I don't think I used them in this video, but you can see them at the top of the screen above the canvas, the circle and the squiggly line and the shapes. Basically, you drag that onto the canvas and your pen will only draw along those lines or shapes, and those can be convenient for setting up guidelines. One thing that I actually like is that when you want to delete a layer or multiple layers, it doesn't ask you if you want to delete it. So you can delete a layer very quickly without having to make that extra click. I think I might have said this earlier, but if I didn't, I'll say it again, and that is that it doesn't have a duplicate and then save the duplicate option, and that's something that I kind of like. So I wish it had that, but it's not a big deal that it doesn't. The text tool, I like it. I like the different text options, but I don't like how it takes so long for the text to show up. And you aren't typing directly on the canvas, you're typing in sort of a box. So if you want to make comics or you're using this to make thumbnails or something, and you want to use the text tool, it's a good text tool, but it takes a little longer for the text to show up on the canvas since you aren't typing directly on the canvas. And sometimes there's a font I want that it just doesn't really have. So that gets a little annoying, but other than that, it's a really good text tool, especially since it has an outline option. But if a program doesn't have the outline option, which is basically putting a outline of the color of your choice around the letters, it's really easy to get around with the selection tool and then inverting it. But Medibang does have that option, so you don't need to do all that. You can also make custom brushes, so if you don't like the default brushes or you just want more, you can make custom brushes to get around that, or download brushes that other people have made. One thing that I don't like, but it's really not a big deal, is that the color selector is a square instead of a triangle. I really like triangle color selectors, but it has a square and I haven't found a way to change it to a triangle, so it's fine. Another thing that I really like is when I flip my pen around and it's on the eraser. Not only does it recognize that it's on the eraser, it actually brings up the eraser's settings, which is something that Clip Studio Paint actually doesn't do. So when I flip around to the eraser, I can immediately start adjusting my eraser to the size and type of eraser that I want, which is amazingly convenient, instead of having to actually click onto the eraser to adjust it. However, something that I don't like, that I really wish were a feature they had, is that they have a palette option to save colors in, but you can't save multiple different sets of colors, so you can't save multiple palettes, which would be amazing if they had that, but they don't. So you only have the one palette of colors. You can't make any more copies of that or more files. In Clip Studio Paint, you can make pretty much as many palettes as you want, but in Medibang, you only have the one. I don't like that very much. But at least they have a palette, that's good. But the fact that you can't save multiples, I don't like that at all. Another thing is that if you buy an art program, like I think Photoshop has this and I know Clip Studio Paint has it, is you can do your line art or other things on a vector layer, which allows you to sort of adjust the curve and width of the line after you've drawn it and makes it easier to erase and edit. And it's amazingly convenient. I just started using it on Clip Studio Paint. I love it for inking, it's awesome, but that's usually something that you're only going to get in programs that you buy, so Medibang doesn't have that. You're just inking on a raster color layer, and that's it. Well, not inking, but doing your line art on it, and that's the only option. And while it usually turns out pretty good if you're good at line art, you can't adjust the lines after you put them down like you can with vector layers, and I love doing that. So if you really like vectors, then maybe invest your money in a program that has that. So while the brushes are fairly adjustable, like the watercolor brush, you can adjust the color mixing level and the complement, which is basically how well it mixes and how much of the original color sticks with it. I can explain that in another video, but basically the brushes are really easy to customize with. You can customize their opacity and their whether or not they have size by pressure, and you control the minimum width, so you have all that, which is pretty good for customizable brush settings. But in slightly more advanced programs like Clip Studio Paint, Clip Studio Paint is the other main art program I use, in case you hadn't figured that out by this point. You can actually adjust the pressure curve, which determines what width it'll be at which pressure, and that might be a little complicated to explain if you don't really understand graphs yet, but it just makes the way your pen is going to respond, the way the line is going to respond to the pressure of your pen, easier to customize for your drawing style. and I'm sure some people really like that. I usually like to have it to just a perfect ratio, not perfect ratio, but no, 50% pressure on the tablet, I want to be a 50% line width, 100% pressure, 100% line width, etc. But you can customize it so maybe if you're applying 30% pressure on the tablet, it'll do a 50% line width and sort of change the curve that way. However, you can adjust minimum width and turn on and off opacity by pressure, size by pressure, and I think you can adjust minimum opacity as well. So I'm not 100% sure, but I think you can. So there are a lot of potential customization, but not as much as in a program that you buy. I think that's about it for all the specific stuff I want to talk about. So I'd say overall for this program, a 4 or 4.5 out of 5. It's really great. It doesn't have everything, of course not, it's free. But it's a good program. I do like it. If you're just trying to find a good program to start drawing on, this will definitely help you a lot. It's an awesome program. It's really easy to use and learn. There's lots of tutorials to learn it, so you don't need to be intimidated by it at all. I think that's it. Thanks for watching. Have a good day.